Most people are not afraid of failure. They are afraid of silence. They can sit in traffic, sit in meetings, sit in front of a screen for hours, and listen to the noise of the world from morning until night. But they cannot sit alone with their own mind for 30 minutes. They are surrounded by information, but starving for direction. They are connected to everyone but disconnected from themselves. And that is why so many lives remain unchanged. The greatest tragedy is not that people lack talent. It is that they never stop long enough to think. By the end of this video, you will have one simple exercise that takes less than an hour and can change the direction of your entire year. But first, you need to understand why the busiest people you know are often the least directed people you know. Albert Schweitzer was once asked what was wrong with people today. His answer was only 4 words. Men simply don't think. That statement is more dangerous now than ever, because today a person can go through an entire day without ever meeting his own thoughts. The moment there is silence, he reaches for a phone. The moment there is discomfort, he searches for distraction. The moment there is uncertainty, he looks for someone else to tell him what to do. And slowly, without noticing it, he gives away the command of his life. This is why solitude is not a small subject. Solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is not weakness. Solitude is not hiding from the world. True solitude is the quiet place where a person takes back control of his mind. Loneliness says, "No one is with me." Solitude says, "Now I can finally hear myself." Loneliness weakens the spirit. Solitude strengthens direction. It uses silence to build clarity, purpose, and discipline instead of waiting for someone else to fill it. The person who cannot be alone with himself will usually be led by everyone else, by the crowd, by trends, by whichever voice is loudest at the moment. But the person who learns to think in solitude discovers something rare. He does not have to live by accident. He does not have to follow the follower. He can choose a direction, build a plan, and become the captain of his own ship. Earl Nightingale warned that one of the greatest enemies of success is conformity. The opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it is conformity. Most people are not choosing their lives. They are copying them. The worries, the goals, the habits, the excuses of the people around them. They enter the crowd early, and unless something awakens them, remain there until the end. They may be busy, but not directed. Active, but not purposeful. This is the difference between the person who drifts and the person who succeeds. The drifting person is outer-directed. His mood depends on circumstance, his confidence on other people. The successful person is inner-directed. He has taken time to think and separated himself from the noise long enough to hear the quiet voice of purpose within him. That is why solitude is the secret place where success begins. Success rarely begins in applause or in public. More often it begins in a quiet room with a blank page, an honest question, and a person willing to face himself without excuses. Someone finally asking, "What do I really want? What am I becoming? What must I stop doing?" These are not questions the crowd can answer for you. They require enough courage to sit with yourself until the truth rises. Nightingale's great principle was this: we become what we think about. If that is true, the most important place in your life is not your office or your bank account, it is your mind, because that is where your future is first formed. A confused mind produces confused action. A directed mind produces purposeful action. Solitude gives you the chance to direct your mind before the world directs it for you. Every morning, the world is waiting to plant something in your thinking. News will plant fear. Social media will plant comparison. Entertainment will plant distraction. Solitude lets you decide what you plant first. The mind is like fertile soil. It does not argue with the farmer. It simply returns the seed. As you sow, so shall you reap. In solitude, you become the farmer of your own mind, pulling out the weeds of borrowed opinions and planting worthy goals in their place. This is not a romantic idea. It is practical. A person who spends no time thinking will usually repeat yesterday. A person who spends time thinking can redesign tomorrow. This is why the 1-hour thinking discipline works. Take a blank sheet of paper. Write your main goal at the top. Then sit quietly and ask how you can move closer to it. Write ideas without judging them too early. Ask, how can I increase my service? What skill must I improve? What one action done consistently would change my direction? Most people never ask these questions because they are too busy reacting. A notification moves them. A comparison discourages them. A mood directs them. But the person who practices solitude begins the day with command, with thought, with inner order. And inner order is the beginning of outer progress. In Lead the Field, Nightingale describes the mind as a gold mine between the ears. But a gold mine enriches no one unless someone is willing to dig. Most people possess extraordinary mental capacity. yet use it only for small worries and ordinary routines. They own the mind but never work it. Solitude is where you begin to mine the gold, where you stop borrowing your standards from people who have no direction themselves and start becoming intellectually honest. You begin to admit what is not working, to see where you are wasting time, to recognize which habits are keeping you attached to an older version of yourself. And once you see clearly, you can choose differently. This is why some people are uncomfortable with solitude. Silence exposes things. Excuses, fear, wasted time, the gap between what you say you want and what you actually do. But that exposure is a gift. You cannot correct what you refuse to examine. Solitude is not always comfortable, but it is often the doorway to freedom, because it lets you ask, am I really moving toward a worthy goal? Or am I simply moving because everyone else is moving? Nightingale defined success as the progressive realization of a worthy goal. Success is not merely money or applause. It begins when you choose a worthy direction and start moving toward it. And that choice usually happens in solitude, when the crowd is gone and you are honest enough to ask what you truly value. Think of the ship analogy. A ship with a mapped-out destination, a captain and a course will usually reach its port even through storms. A ship without a destination simply drifts. It may move, but movement is not progress. Many people live exactly that way, moving, working, reacting, aging, repeating, but never directed by a clear destination. Solitude is where the map gets drawn, where you stop drifting and decide where your life is going. Once you decide, you begin to recognize the difference between activity and progress. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every crowd is moving toward a place you want to go. Solitude also helps you find the acres of diamonds already around you. Many people believe success is somewhere else, another city, another company, another lucky break. But often the opportunity they seek is hidden in the work they already have, the skills they already possess, the problems already waiting to be solved. They run across the world looking for treasure while standing on their own field of diamonds. Solitude asks, what is here that I have not noticed? What value can I create where I already stand? And this is where the law of service enters. Nightingale said, our rewards in life will always match our service. Solitude is not meant to disconnect you from people. It is meant to make you more valuable to them. It is not an escape from responsibility. It is preparation for greater responsibility. You think alone so you can serve better in public. You sharpen the mind in private, so your work improves where it counts. This is why private preparation often looks invisible before it becomes undeniable. The world sees the harvest, not the planting. It sees the confidence, not the quiet decisions that built it. One day people call it luck. It was not luck. It was solitude turned into action. The average person has hours every week that disappear into noise, not rest, which has real value, but unconscious distraction, reacting, scrolling, comparing, escaping. Imagine giving even one of those hours each day to your future. 1 hour of thinking, 1 hour of study, 1 hour of becoming. Over a year that becomes hundreds of hours. Over several years it becomes a new person. Small quiet hours repeated with purpose create extraordinary separation from the crowd, not out of arrogance but responsibility. There is a stronger, wiser, more disciplined version of you that cannot be built in constant noise. And that person is waiting on the other side of your distractions. So here is that exercise I promised you. For the next 7 days, give yourself a daily period of intentional solitude. 30 minutes is enough to begin. 1 hour is better. No phone, no music, no unnecessary noise. Sit with a blank page. At the top, write your primary goal. Then write 20 ideas that could move you closer to it or increase your service. Some will be ordinary, some unrealistic, some genuinely valuable. The purpose is not perfection, it is to awaken the mind. Afterward, choose the 6 most important actions for the next day and number them in order of importance. The next day begin with number 1. Do not escape into easier tasks. Do not confuse busyness with progress. Finish the most important thing first, then move to the next. Do this for 7 days and you will feel something changing. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you become clearer. During these 7 days, also practice replacing fear with a mental picture of your goal. When doubt appears, return to the goal. When comparison appears, return to the goal. You are training your mind to obey purpose instead of noise, stepping out of the convoy of the crowd and becoming the captain of your own course. The door to the successful 5% is not guarded by luck. It is guarded by your willingness to think, to separate from the crowd long enough to discover your own direction, to become honest with yourself and use the miracle of your mind instead of wasting it on fear and distraction. You already own the greatest instrument you will ever possess: your mind, your capacity to choose, to imagine, to serve, to begin again. These were given to you freely, but that does not make them cheap. Do not neglect them. Do not wait for the noise to disappear. Step away from it. Find the quiet. Sit with your own mind. Ask better questions. Choose a worthy goal. Walk alone when you must. Think when others avoid thinking. Prepare when others are distracted. And one day, the life you built in silence will speak louder than all the noise you left behind. You have nothing to lose, but you have a life to win. The crowd will always be there. The noise will always be there. But your future is waiting for a decision only you can make. Step out of the crowd. Enter the secret place of solitude. Draw the map. Plant the seed. Do the work. Begin today. Because success does not start when the world notices you. It starts the moment you finally become quiet enough to notice yourself.